All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something that's honestly going to completely flip how you look at the natural world. We're exploring what you could call the hidden republic of nature, the mysterious and absolutely essential partnerships between animals and microbes. It's this wondrous, completely hidden world operating right under our noses, and I promise you, by the end of our time together today, you will literally never look at the animal kingdom the exact same way again.
You know, we really think we know animals. When you or I look at a lion, an eagle, or maybe even just a house cat, what do we actually see? We see the obvious stuff, right? Teeth, claws, wings, stomachs, legs. We admire the leap, the chase, the massive migrations, the sheer physical power of it all. But here's the catch. By focusing solely on what our human eyes can catch, we are completely missing the invisible workers that make all of those incredible abilities possible in the very first place.
Which brings us to the core mystery of this explainer. Are we literally only seeing half the story? Because it turns out, behind many of the animal world's absolute greatest feats, there's work happening that we cannot see. Microbial work. It is happening deep inside the gut, all across the skin, and buried deep inside tissues. And these are partnerships so incredibly tight, so fundamentally essential, that the animal and the microbe can only survive together.
Okay, let's really dive into this. The hidden truth of our world is simply this. Many animals are not working alone. The animal we see walking around is genuinely just the public face of a much, much deeper alliance. So, let's look at some truly fascinating examples to see exactly how this invisible machinery actually works in the real world.
Picture this for a second. It's a super familiar scene, a cow grazing in a field at a gorgeous golden sunrise. It seems perfectly peaceful, ordinary, and, totally familiar. But the reality is, a cow cannot make milk alone. You see, grass isn't just some simple food. It is incredibly tough plant material. Sure, it holds a massive amount of energy, but that energy is locked away behind biological cell walls that the cow's own body simply doesn't have the key to open. A cow can't turn grass into milk just with muscle and teeth.
Think about the actual biological supply chain of milk. The real magic? It happens right in the middle of the process. Inside the cow is this warm, living fermentation chamber called the rumen, and down there, billions upon billions of microbes go to work. They are the ones actually breaking down those tough plant fibers. They release the trapped energy to help feed the animal. And then, it's the cow that takes that unlocked microbial work and turns it into body heat, strength, and ultimately, the milk we drink.
It really all boils down to this. The cow eats the grass, but the microbes unlock the meal. It's a massive shift in perspective, isn't it? And why does this matter to us? Well, because it means every single time you pour yourself a glass of milk, you are quite literally looking at the invisible signature of a vast microbial world working tirelessly deep inside that animal.
All right, let's transition away from those sunny fields and head down into some dark timber tunnels for our next story. Now, when we see a termite chewing through wood, it mostly just looks like pure destruction, right? Just a tiny insect biting into a timber frame. But wood is an incredibly hard, dry, and Loctite meal. And here is a pretty wild fact. A termite can chew wood all day long, but chewing is absolutely not the same thing as eating.
What's really fascinating here is the sheer division of labor. On one side, you've got the mechanical action, the insect's jaws just tirelessly chewing away. But on the other side, that's where you find the real heroes. Deep inside the termite's gut, microbes are running one of the most remarkable hidden factories in all of nature. They use chemical action to break open those tough plant fibers, finally releasing the energy trapped inside to turn that dead wood into actual usable food and movement.
So ultimately, the termite chews, but the microbes unlock the wood. Without these microscopic partners, that termite could literally keep chewing forever and still starve to death. The jaws belong to the insect, sure, but the chemistry that actually keeps it alive, that whole shebang belongs entirely to the microbes.
Now I want you to picture a lush forest floor. A long line of leafcutter ants is marching across the ground, and each one is holding a bright green piece of a leaf way up above its head like a tiny little umbrella. Now the obvious assumption, and it's the one almost everyone makes at first glance, is that they're taking those leaves home to eat them. But actually, scratch that. That assumption is completely wrong. They are doing something far, far more astonishing.
This completely redefines agriculture. Seriously, agriculture isn't just a human invention. Deep inside their nest, these ants don't simply eat those leaves. They use them as fertilizer to grow a fungus. And that fungus, that becomes their actual food. And where do the microbes come in? The microbes actually help protect this living crop from disease.
Long before we humans ever planted our first fields, these tiny little animals were out there harvesting, growing food, and actively defending their crops.
Simply put, they are farming. That little ant you see running along the forest floor isn't just carrying a leaf, it is carrying the raw materials to start a farm. Nature invented agriculture way before we did, and microbes were already right there, working as the ultimate underground farmhands.
Now, if you thought farming ants were strange, nature gets even stranger still. Let's take a trip far below the ocean's surface. Down here, sunlight is completely gone. There are no forests, no grass, no ordinary food sources whatsoever. Just crushing darkness, intense pressure, and these scalding hot volcanic vents pouring toxic chemicals right into the sea. And yet, rising up like red-tipped towers from the deep, we find these giant tube worms somehow living in this totally extreme environment.
And here is the absolute craziest part of all this. They have no mouth. They have no stomach. None. So how in the world do they thrive? How do you manage to survive in a seemingly impossible environment without any normal way to consume food?
Well, the answer, once again, is a totally mysterious and essential partnership. The tube worm basically acts as a landlord, providing a safe home for microbes right inside its own body. In exchange, those microbes take the harsh, toxic chemicals pouring out of those volcanic vents and literally turn the raw chemistry of the earth into food. The microbes feed the tube worm, and together they make life entirely possible in a place that frankly seems impossible. It is easily one of the strangest and most beautiful alliances on our entire planet.
So what is the crucial point that connects all of these wild stories? Whether it's the cow in the sunlit field, the termite chewing through a piece of timber, the ant farming on the forest floor, or that tube worm chilling in the pitch-black ocean, they're not doing it alone. From our green pastures all the way down to the bottom of the sea, the animal kingdom relies incredibly heavily on these shared, hidden partnerships with the microbial world.
The absolute truth of the matter is that the visible animal is only part of the story. And honestly, knowing this doesn't make animals any less amazing. I think it makes all of life significantly more amazing. Because if you were to remove the microbes, these majestic animals become completely diminished. They become less able to eat, less able to function, and simply less able to survive at all. The deeper story of all life on Earth is alliance.
Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question. If the visible world is powered, protected, and made entirely possible by the invisible one, what else are we missing? The next time you look at an animal, try to remember the hidden republic working tirelessly inside of it. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the world around you because for sure, there is always more than meets the eye.